Today is February 11th or 20th, 2011, and I'm Michael Broering. I'm the project manager for WaterSolve in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We're out in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina at a place called Southern Shores, and we're doing a dredging project for them. We're actually, our job here is to help get the water clean so it can go back into the channel. Behind me is the disposal site for the material coming from the dredge. In the far corner, you'll see the dredge material coming into the pond, and we're adding our chemistry before it gets there, and the material will gradually settle out in the pond as it's crossing across the pond. The yellow curtains in the pond are called turbidity curtains. They deflect the water to help it go from side to side and eventually make it over to the bottom, to the corner of the lagoon here that has the orange pump. That has a suction hose on it that is drawing water from the bottom of it and is getting the cleanest water and is transferring over to the left here to what's called Pond 2. In Pond 2 is a polishing pond. If there's any other sediment in the water, it will settle out. If we happen to have the water too dirty, we can still recirculate it and send it back to Pond 1 to clean it again before it leaves. In the far corner of this pond is actually a rectangle or a square object, a white object called a skimmer. It's sucking the water off of the top of the pond, and it goes to the bottom of the gray structure called the flashboard riser. And it's a 6-inch hose, and it's sucking the cleanest water off and disposing it, or it's getting rid of it back into the channel. The flashboard riser, if the water gets too high in this pond, it'll overflow across those boards and be able to go back into the channel as an overflow. Okay, we're at the Dick White Bridge, and in back of me is Phase 1 of the dredging operation at Southern Shores. The first phase took about 4 weeks to complete, and the second phase will turn around in back of us is Phase 2. Okay, Phase 1 actually went from the Dick White Bridge all the way to the end of the channel, and at the end of the channel pretty much is where the disposal site was. Phase 2 goes from the bridge here all the way to where it tees at the end of the channel, and there's also a couple laterals that we've cleaned as well. And we're going to proceed on to Phase 3 right now and go to the marina. Yep. Okay, Phase 3 is actually starting here in the marina, and we started over here at the 13 marker, and we went all the way out into the sound to the last marker and dredged there. And then we turned the dredge around and we dredged into the marina all the way up to the culvert bridge. Now we're going to go to the disposal site and explain what's happening there. Okay, behind me is the discharge pipe. It's a 10-inch discharge pipe, and again it's approximately pumping at 23 to 2,500 gallon a minute. And as you can see, the mud and the sand and all the debris is coming in here. The challenge for us at WaterSolve is to get that water to clean up and drop the material in the water as quickly as possible so that we can return clean water into the channel. We have dual chemistry treatment that we're going to demonstrate in a little bit and explain how we're making this happen. Right now I'm going to get a sample and show you how quickly the polymers work to drop out the solids in the water. how quickly it drops out in the pond and what's actually happening. The chemistry is taking full effect now. See how rapidly the solids are dropping out. And there's a few what we call stragglers slowly dropping to the bottom of the jar. This will continue to consolidate and drop to the bottom of the pond so that we can discharge the water and get rid of it quickly. Back of the tree, it's a little difficult to see, but in back of the tree here, they're taking some of the solids that were excavated from the holding pond and stacking them so that the pond has enough room in it to keep settling out. We want to keep about 12 to 14 hours of sediment time in the pond, and so we're removing some of the solids to maintain the size of the pond. Back of this white generator, the white structure to the left here, is the curved pipe, and that's the dredge line coming from the dredge, and it's coming to the blue tent here. And the pad that the blue tent is called the containment pad, and in case there's any chemical spill, we've got it contained. Inside, we've made a portable little house there for us to keep our chemistry warm and operate in the weather, being it's throughout. We started here in November, and we've gone all the way to the end of February. So we had some inclement weather while we've been here. Okay, right now we're in the treatment pad, the chemical treatment pad. This line right here is the line coming from the dredge up to the treatment pad. This containment area is to contain any chemical spill in case something would start leaking, that we can contain it and dispose of it properly. This port right here is a raw sample port. There's no chemistry in before we get this port open here. This is the mud that is being dredged right now. As you can see, without any chemistry in it, no settling takes place, or very little settling takes place. If we let this sit overnight, it would still be brown. It would get a little bit cleaner, but it wouldn't get anything close to what we did when we got the sample a little bit ago at the port at the end of the line. These ports here are actually where the first chemistry goes into the line. Again, I said we had a dual chemistry. One prepares for the second one. It's kind of like I referred to playing with dominoes. The first one is taking the mud and arranging the dominoes straight up and down, and then the second chemistry is going to come along and group the dominoes together, and that's what happens when we flocculate the material, and it's kind of like making cottage cheese out of the debris, and that's what the second chemistry does. Okay, we're at pond 1. We refer to it as, it's a primary pond. It's the pond that all the mud is being discarded into. And these yellow turbidity curtains behind me are actually arranged so that the water is deflected to travel around the pond before it gets to the crossover point to go to the second pond. The curtains are across here. The water is supposed to come around this end, go down to the other end, come back to this end, and then go to the pump and the crossover pipes, so that they have the best chance of getting us the cleanest water, and it gives the retention time so that the water can drop out all the solids before that water gets to the crossover pump. Okay, we're at the far end of the pump site. Still on pond 1. And the item out in front of you here is a suction barrel-like object that has holes in the bottom of it so that we do not pull this scum layer in that's on top of the pond. Today it happens to be a heavy scum layer. We got into some different type of material, and there's more of a scum layer today. We don't want that going into the second pond, so the holes are in this floating apparatus that helps get the water to come from the bottom and cross over. The other way the water can cross over are these two pipes you can see right here. They will gravity flow. If this pond gets too full, it'll gravity flow right over to the second pond. Alright, we're in pond 2 now. We refer to it also as the polishing pond. The water is crossed over from one through these two pipes here on the bottom are the gravity flow. The top one is actually a recirculating pipe. And if you look out toward the center of the pond, you'll see the water's flowing around. We're actually pumping water over here through the orange pump over there. And the water's clean enough to go to discharge, so we want to stay ahead of the project, so we're just crossing over right now with that pump. If you scan over to the right, you'll see this white square object. It's called a skimmer. There's a flexible hose hooked onto it, and it's actually sucking water from that white area that the tubes surround, and it's getting the cleanest water out of the pipe, out of the pond, and it's going to discharge it out the pipe. The other structure is called the flashboard riser. It's the safety valve that if we need to pump over here faster than what the skimmer can take it off, it goes right into the flashboard riser. Now we're going to go to where the water is discharged back into the canal. Okay, we're now down by the channel where the water is going to be disposed of. Up by the pond, you'll see the two pipes coming through. Those are hooked up to the flashboard riser, and the water is currently coming down those two pipes, and it's coming to this area in the channel. We have a tarp underneath the two pipes so it doesn't erode the bottom, and the finished water is coming out here right now. I'm going to get a sample. So the challenge is complete. We've gone to mud, to treated, to clean water. And the time lag is probably about 15 to 20 hours. And that's the complete cycle. Another company tried to do this about a year and a half ago and was unsuccessful. WaterSolve came in and was contracted to get this water cleaned, and we've successfully managed to do that.